if you wish to have nuclear at all, or atomic energy, then you're going to have some risk in the story. The risk is really going down to zero. Ought you to have ought this to be the last type of energy you consider?
Our next speaker is Cindy Folkers from Beyond Nuclear. Okay. 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you. As he said, I'm Cindy Folkers from Beyond Nuclear. A lot of the points I was going to make today have already been made, but I want to delve a little more into this book, which was recently published by the New York Academy of Sciences as part of their annals. And this is a very interesting book because it's about 5,000 studies that have been reviewed in this book by Alexei Yablokov. And they are studies that are not going to be found in English for the most part, and they are not available in Western journals. But a lot of them are published in journals in the former Soviet Union states. And there are a lot of conclusions in here that we could learn from, but the one that I want to point out first is that in this data, the data show that chronic, low-dose, long-term exposures can end up having the same effects to health as higher doses. And this is in this data, so there's not just one disease endpoint for this. It's a very interesting compilation and meta-analysis of studies. So that's the first thing that I wanted to tell you. It's free to scientific bodies, to universities, and to the medical universities and to hospitals. So I suggest that you get a copy of it from the New York Academy. Number two, people say that they're happy about having this study done. I can't really claim that I am. I have reservations because the Nuclear Regulatory Commission has as its charge to regulate emissions of radiation from nuclear power facilities. And while I understand that, and I understand that they've collected a lot of data, from what I'm hearing today and from what I've sort of studied up in the past, the data that they've collected on releases, et cetera, don't really comport with what necessarily needs to happen for a public health study. So I don't know that they're exactly meshable. So I would usher in words of caution, like the other speakers have as well, about using that data for health studies. And I would agree with Michal, who spoke earlier, that Michal Friedhoff from Markey's office, that what we need to do is we need this to be a public health study and not a study on nuclear power. And to that end, I would really ask, from Beyond Nuclear's point of view, that we completely nix the assessment of baseline cancers or any other health effects that happen to exist in places where we think we might be building new nuclear facilities. I have a problem with that because a lot of these facilities are going to be put where there are current nuclear facilities, such as Navajo, which is uranium mining, and the NRC is trying to set up a new uranium mining site there. They've gone to court to see and try to make that happen, going against a Navajo ban. That community is already suffering under the effects of the first uranium mining facilities that they opened and have never cleaned up. And so I'm happy to see that the study has been broadened past nuclear power. I am not so excited to see that they want baseline cancer rates because, again, some of these facilities already have other facilities, and not just nuclear power, but other facilities, paper mills and whatnot, that spew out pollutants. And the baseline that they're seeing is not A, the actual baseline as it was before any of these facilities moved in, and B, does not give the NRC in building new nuclear power reactors the impetus to go in and cause these communities further damage. And I believe Dr. Makashani made that point as well. So from the standpoint of the money for this particular study, I would like to see it spent on where we know these facilities exist already, where we do not have adequate assessment for health, and not waste any time or precious resources on trying to decide baselines for new power reactor or new nuclear facilities that are planned. And I want to just mention one more thing, and that's the precautionary approach. Okay, Europe has bought into, in some measure anyway, the precautionary principle. And let's face it, we know what radiation is capable of, okay? We know it. I think the question is not so much a maximally exposed individual. I think it is a maximally sensitive individual or a maximally damaged individual that we're going for. And those may not always be the same person. So just because you can't figure out what is responsible for a disease, we know that radiation is capable of causing disease. And we cannot use this inability to tease out what is the actual cause for this person's melanoma or for this person's leukemia. We cannot use the inability to tease out whether it was the dioxin or the nuclear power radionuclides like tritium as an excuse to do nothing or to proliferate facilities that we know can induce diseases further. I'm going to stop my comments there because I know that there are other people who want to speak. I've given a fuller set of my comments written to the academies, and I thank you for the ability to speak.
Good, thank you. Our next speaker is Paul Gunter, also from Beyond Nuclear. Paul, 5 minutes.
Thank you. I'll be brief. First of all, I want to say that this study is long overdue, and the importance that you now carry is, I think, we're all appreciative of your work and the effort. But I have to, first of all, I have to bring forward a concern right now that it appears that the waters of impartiality have already been muddied, and I have to draw your attention to an advertising supplement to the Washington Post, which I'm not sure how far and wide in other newspapers this was added, but it
not wide enough.
Not enough. So it was only the Washington Post, I presume. So on Wednesday, April 21st, this paid-for advertisement appeared as a Section H, and as you see on the front page here, the Nuclear Energy Institute featured its advertisement that nuclear power is release zero greenhouse gases while producing electricity. But I would draw your attention to page 6, where the only other promotion and advertisement for nuclear power appears in this advertising supplement comes from the chair of this committee. And I'll just take a few minutes to draw some quotes out. I think one of the first ones is, quote, "Our national energy policy should indeed, must include significant encouragement of nuclear power." It goes on to say that in fact, the major challenge to nuclear power right now is financial, and then clearly establishes that there is a clear federal role in supporting the first several plants by providing loan guarantees in which the utilities pay a premium. The ad goes on to say that the funding should be a high priority if we are to facilitate the significant new construction that will be necessary if nuclear power is to contribute meaningfully toward halting the growth of greenhouse gas emissions. So the concern here is that, particularly with the import of this committee carrying in setting out who will make up this study committee and its scope, it's a very real concern of ours that we've already started out with this the shadow of and I think that it's a question that's fair to ask what role the chair plays in overall the construct of this study, because I think that these promotions and advertisements raise some very serious questions. Thank you.
And nuclear power.